All right, boom. We are live. What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday. We always do these on Mondays, and I'm just realizing it's like the best, worst way. Well, it's the best way to start a week. Having a few whiskeys, but it's always I feel like after this, the rest of the day is always a little bit of an uphill struggle. I don't just want to keep going. How are you, Zach?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah. I mean, for a Monday, can't complain. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the August Mid-Month Outturn preview tasting. I'm pretty excited for what's to come. It's been a fun month. I don't know, what have been some standout whiskeys for you this month? Zach, I'll let you.
Ooh, some this month. I actually haven't been drinking much. I've been moving and
yeah. So you have been moving. How was the move? Let's start there.
It was good. I'm back. I'm in an office again. I'm all set up. Ready to drink. I've been, like I said, I've been pretty light, so I'm looking forward to drinking some.
You guys have probably seen Zach's background has changed a few times in the last few months. Zach, walk us through what's going on. I see like an industrial shelf with some whiskeys out there.
Yeah. So I just kind of ran out of room. So I went out to Home Depot and I tried to find the shelf that held the most weight.
That looks like industrial grade. You know?
It's a little it's there.
Yeah.
So
oh, nice.
I gotta take control, make sure everything's safe, and but we're good now.
All right, looks good. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted a quick shout out. Tom R, welcome. First, Tom R, you are always the first in the chat. Appreciate you. Adam's in the house as well. Adam Fahey, happy Monday, he says. Joseph Horton says, aloha, everyone. Aloha, Joseph. Brian Baumstein's here. Matthew J. Ryan, hello, whiskey people. Of course, Brian McCoy says, hi, Ben and Zach. Greetings from Seattle. Greetings, Brian. I was just thinking about Seattle the other day. I feel like every time we do these chats, there's someone from Seattle, and
yeah.
I know, Brian, you're here regularly, but others as well. And I love the city, and I always want to get back there. And every time we do these chats, I find myself just reminiscing of Seattle. Mark Broda's in the house. Mark, happy Monday, he says. Good to see you. Jason, good afternoon. George Kaplan, hey, everyone. I'm just here for the tears, he says. No ordering this time. All right, George, we're not going to twist your arm, but I don't want you to shed any tears on our behalf.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's pretty exciting lineup we have today, and as we mentioned earlier, this is our August Mid-Month Outturn coming out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I mean, if you're new to the society, just how it works, we release single cask whiskeys exclusively to our members every month. We used to do it just once a month. We had our monthly Outturn, which we released our August Outturn the first Tuesday of the month, and then just in response to growing enthusiasm, really from our members, we've decided to release a second mid-month Outturn every month. And now, honestly, there's special releases going on in between. And I mean, you tell me, Zach, we have something, I think, going on once or twice a week, at least, in terms of new whiskeys or other spirits. Yeah. So
we've added so many things in the last year, and I think members are thriving on it. There's so many releases. We've got so many different opportunities for releases, and I think everybody's just enjoying them. So
yeah. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna taste through a selection of 5. Let's see how many we have coming out tomorrow. I know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 whiskeys coming out here in the U.S. tomorrow. We'll be tasting through 5 of them. So Zach, you said you tasted one of the 5 so far. Is that right?
One of the 5.
Okay, I've tasted none of the 5. So this is pretty much really kind of a cold turkey approach here. We'll be tasting all of them for the first time, with the exception of the one that Zach tasted already. But then at the end, I think what we'll do, we started doing this earlier this month. We're going to go ahead and post. We'll do a screen share. I'll show you the full selection. So there are 9 coming out tomorrow. So that means there'll be 4 that we haven't tasted. I did look at the list, obviously, to put it together for this. And I'm already a little envious that whoever's going to get the other 4. Some of them really stand out. But I'm excited for this. So let's just real quick, another welcome. So Bill Dodd, greetings from Austin. Welcome, Bill. Jim Dougherty says, new member, or if it's Doherty, my apologies. Jim, new member here. Happy to be here. Glad to have you, Jim. I think you'll find yourself right at home.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Andrews says, yeah, thank you again for having these previews. Glad you're enjoying it, Zach. We'll continue doing these as long as they're helpful. Of course, there's nothing like tasting the whiskey for yourself, and we recognize that. We're not trying to replace that. But for all of us at home and unable to get together and taste in person, we're just glad that these are helpful to you. So anyway, that was enough of that. I didn't know whiskey. Let's get to it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Cut in. So looking at overarching themes, when we get into these, I think some of them, and Zach and I were chatting a little bit before, a couple of these are very, very similar on paper. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about tasting those two. We got an old one. We got some peat smoke going down the line. Let's get to it, Zach. I see Zach is already he's sick of hearing me talk, and I'm sick of it. So first one, what do we got here? This is Cask 39.195 called Starch of the Penguins. And I try to do this with the washed out label all the time. There we go. So Starch of the Penguins, a little unfocused, but nonetheless. Mm-hmm. Sort of that pink profile. Sweet, fruity, and mellow is one of the 12 proprietary flavor profiles that we assign all of our whiskeys to, just to help members really identify which casks fall within sort of their palate preferences. This one's called Starch of the Penguins, and 13-year-old Speyside whiskey, refill hogshead, which is classic American oak. I think roughly 70% of all casks in Scotland, I think today, are American oak hogsheads of some sort. So likely refill. 59.1%.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's up there. I'm going to pour this. What are you getting right away? What's your first impression?
I mean, I think the starch really hits it. Like that clean laundry flavor. And I'm getting a little bit of like shortbread and some fruit. But it's really enjoyable. I mean, they're light. They're aromatic. It's nothing too crazy.
It's starch. It's funny, like that fresh linen aroma. It sounds like it when I'm saying it out loud, or when you say it out loud, I'm thinking of like a really cheesy scented candle, like the crisp linen candles. It's not at all like that. Like those are I find those really pretty gross.
Yeah,
it's very, very faint, but I don't know. It's very fruity. There's a lot of sort of like berry fruits.
Yeah,
for me. Oh, I should actually say the bottle specifically says willowy fruits, which I think is interesting as a term that we haven't used before, and chocolatey pockets.
Chocolatey pockets.
Very, very British description here.
Okay.
So 13-year-old. This is a classic Speyside for me. It's willowy fruits, I think, is what the label says here. I consider that sort of more of an orchard fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of apple. I'm getting more apple now. Before I was getting a lot of berries.
Mm-hmm.
15. You went a neat 59.1%.
Yeah. I think there's a nice like maltiness in the background too. It's kind of like holding it all together. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's got like a confectionery type of sugar note, Mm-hmm. The malt,
the palate, not so much on the nose though.
You're getting more like the sugar on the palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am as well.
Like one of those like lemon glazed icings, where it's not too thick, it's not too overpowering, but it's definitely more of a confectionery sugar than a sweetness of any kind.
Other Zach Andrews, not Zak Kemble here, says learning your palate has really helped us to evaluate our own as it relates to these releases. And I kind of feel that way. I learned a lot about whiskey through YouTube over the years, and understanding palates of other people who were tasting. Like it just helped me. If I knew we sort of liked similar things, I could watch them taste something, and it just make a judgment call based on that. And if they didn't like something, and perhaps we have opposite palates, I would think, oh well, he doesn't like it or she doesn't like it.
Maybe I will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed too. Yeah. All right.
water to it.
It's really funny because the starch and linen note, both of them are even on the label too in the official tasting note. Linens and starches. It's so very gentle, you know, not really there. This I get a lot of like stewed berry fruits.
It's not like tart in any way, but that fruitiness is still there.
There is like a fruit type of dessert. I'm trying to think of like a fruit cake type of dessert that would pair well with this of some sort. I'm really, you know, Jenna's
maybe like a mango creme brulee with some berries on top.
Oh, boom! Wow, that was a dessert flex right there. I think something like that is what I'm talking about.
I can't make it, but I know a restaurant nearby that does.
Yeah, I think Jenna, I mean, as you probably see, she goes off with these. I mean, she's really good at baking.
Oh,
yeah. And so she gets really into the desserts. My pairings go as far as like a chocolate bar, although what you just said, I think that was pretty spot on.
Chocolate cake. There we go. Cupcakes.
Yeah.
That's the extent.
So overall, I thought this is just a classic Speyside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I think a whiskey like this is probably what I appreciate most is the versatility. It's one that you can drink all year long and enjoy all year long. Mm-hmm. Pair it with your fancy dessert there as well. Yeah. So, yeah, good start. Let's
pretty good.
Let's move on. Okay. Mm-hmm. So moving down the line, we kind of have this little theme going on here. Well, until it's early. So this is so different. This is Cask 35.257 Diedrich. That was my horrible Diedrich. This is bought this at Target. No, I'm kidding. So 35.257 juicy oak and vanilla. I've been openly loving these juicy oak and vanilla casks. This one in particular is a first fill bourbon barrel, 12 years old. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say before I even nose it or taste it, I'm just a big fan of these juicy oak and vanillas in a first fill bourbon barrel. What are you gravitating towards these days? Do you have any one thing?
I'm with you on juicy oak and vanilla. I've also been very much enjoying the sweet, fruity, and mellows. And then I've always got a good stash of deep, rich, and dried fruits. But I'm starting to enjoy the lesser deep, rich, and dried fruits where they're not quite as big and bold, but they're more or less just leaning that way because of some of the heavier flavors. But no, juicy oak and vanilla, and I think sweet, fruity, and mellow have been two that I've been leaning on quite heavily lately.
Yeah, man, this is right away that bourbon characteristic of the cask in which the spirit was aged in is really coming forward. So when you think of bourbon, like big vanilla bomb,
a little bit of caramel.
Yeah, you get that. I got that caramel too. You know, I'm always looking for citrus because that's such a common thing, but I'm not getting much of it. This is more sort of on the drier, earthier profile.
I'm seeing here, it's funny in the tasting notes, it's juicy fruit chewing gum. I'm getting it. It's weird. It's more, I was getting like bubble gum, but the juicy fruit, that like very noticeable like scent that you'd get when you open the juicy fruit.
This is so, yeah, just the aroma alone, it's just so lush and thick. Like it's just the aroma is just really, really assertive.
The viscosity is heavy here for, I think it's going to drink really well.
And I haven't even tasted this one yet. I'm just looking.
Me neither.
Check at the legs.
Look at them sexy legs, Ben. You got this.
Well, from my vantage point, pretty quick run. Thick legs. It is wild. I mean, well, you're ahead. I'll join you in tasting it first. What do we have? 57.6.
Wow. That's a lot of tropical fruits there. I think that viscosity, that heavy texture just carries on through. That was really.
Yeah, it's really a thick spirit, and I think the tropical notes. I mean, add coconut, like a toasted coconut right away. That was pretty prevalent. Like that's not very uncommon for a whiskey of this style. A little bit of mango, maybe. I'm just trying to pinpoint it, just for context. But oh man, I just said, oh man, this is.
There it is.
I'm trying not to do those anymore. But this is really something. It's like a really happy whiskey. Does that make sense?
It is. Yeah.
I just
like always smiling.
Yeah, it's you can't really. It's hard to taste this. Pour a glass of this, as we just did, and be in a bad mood. I feel like this is going to overturn any bad mood.
Mm-hmm. There's not one point in this whiskey where the ABV takes over. There's not one point where there's any, spicy, angry notes that are going to really stick out. I think it's. You said it's pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm going to add a drop of water. I just realized we didn't add any water to the first one. But yeah. Let it go ahead. I like this neat, which is crazy because it's 12 years old. So, I mean, pretty average age, not too old. Sometimes with older whiskeys, the ABV, the alcohol presence will sort of just mellow out naturally. Even retaining the same alcohol content, it'll just be more approachable. This was surprisingly approachable for 57.6% ABV, which is wild. Brian says, I love juicy fruit notes in whiskey, relatively rare, but when it's there, wow. This is one of them. As rare as it may or may not be, this is definitely a juicy one.
This catches me like chewing almost. Like that's like it's the tannic structure of, almost like a Napa cab, a young Napa cab where it sticks. You're literally like, I think that juicy fruit, that chewy fruitiness really comes out even more with the water added.
I think water really helps it out too. I added probably 3 or 4 drops to my half-ounce dram. Oh, so much more complexity. I think the fruits it was very fruit forward at the beginning. I feel like now it's more malty and in balance with the fruits. Like it's equally parts sweet and earthy. Oh man, that is yeah. I just think there's so much going on in these, for something that's pretty classical on paper,
First fill bourbon barrel. There's nothing. There's no play. It's just at 12 years old. This is like this is Scotch. It's
Scotch.
That's what it is. It's great. Good.
Yeah. So interestingly, the next one is well,
it's also Scotch.
It's also Scotch. By the way, we've really come a long way from our pizza reviews of last year. I don't know if
those were pretty good.
You guys were around last year. I know a lot of you were, but last year Zach was in Chicago, and we went all out in taste testing deep dish pizzas and applying our whiskey tasting skills, or what we thought we had, the whiskey skills that we think we have. We applied those to pizza, and that was a lot of fun. But I feel like we've come full circle. We're mature again in some way, or maybe not at all.
Next time it'll be big beef sandwiches.
So let me drop this one. So next one, what's interesting is this is going to be, well, I'll just go ahead and put it up. So it's Cask 41.129, kicked in the coconuts. How about that name? Spicy and sweet one, this one here, but also Speyside 12-year-old from a first fill barrel. And slight bump in ABV, 60.3%. This is pretty extreme. So what's interesting about this is we have 2 Speysides, both 12 years old, from the same cask. Obviously different distillery, but I'm laughing because this is called Kicked in the Coconuts. And the last whiskey we tasted, I was commenting on the coconut.
Yeah.
Kind of forgetting for a moment that the next one that we're gonna have is actually called Kicked in the Coconuts.
Wow.
What do you think? Start us off here. Have
I
you
don't
been
know.
kicked?
You hit it with the last one. It's like coconut husk, like literally the chips. This time it's not like thin. It's literally like coconut shavings. It's a little spicier than the last one, I'll say, but it's more like a nutty spice, like baking spices, maybe some tree nuts.
Oh yeah, this is a totally different whiskey.
Very different.
And I get like a lot of like a marmalade type of like undertones, or like marmalade and jam.
Mm-hmm.
Very Speyside in its way, but the spices, I think, are definitely more prevalent too. Oh man, this is a hint of cinnamon. I would say a little bit of cinnamon, maybe some nutmeg. Like it's full on baking spice.
That first sip, you really get the cinnamon and the nutmeg. There's a sweet note though on the finish. It sits there, it lingers, it gets sweet.
The one we had before was noticeably juicier and fruitier, and this is darker.
I like you said, the marmalades, the jams, chutneys, things like that, where it's a bit more of a thick, sweet.
Yeah. It's so different, and different distillery, but again, both 12 years old, both Speyside whiskeys, both from a first fill bourbon barrel. This is hotter, at a higher ABV, but Jesse says another great name. I like this name too. Kicked in the Coconut. Funny enough, I don't know. The first one had, I think, equal amounts of coconut.
Yeah.
But this one has more kick for sure. It was just like that one was like, yeah, drink coconut water on a sunny day. This is like kicked in the coconuts.
Definitely. It's kicking in the face, or the coconuts, whichever hurts more, but
Matthew Barrett says, this one sounds good. It might have to be my first spicy and sweet. Yeah, I think the spicy and sweet profile is a bit of an enigma. There's a lot. There's a
big range to me.
There's a range, right?
I see a lot of wine cask whiskeys going into that profile, but at the same time, I see a lot that are just on the spicier side of, first fill bourbon.
It's almost like an assortment of casks or profiles that don't fit into others.
Yeah, there's some spiciness to it. There's a little bit of sweetness to that's just boom,
spicy sweet.
Done.
So I'm adding a little bit of water real quick here.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really silky texture. Very full. Very, very rich. I think definitely benefits from a little bit of water.
I think the water actually brings it from a coconut water to coconut husk to more of like a coconut milk.
I'm going to do something for research purposes. I'm going to add a lot of water, probably more than I normally do. But just to see if I really reduce the alcohol, what sort of aromas and flavors come out of it. I know a lot of master blenders, what they'll do is they'll reduce a sample down to, it could be around 30% ABV at times, below a strength that you would want to enjoy the whiskey at, but just to really touch on the alcohol and focus purely on the flavors. Okay, I like it stronger, I think.
You want to get kicked in the coconuts again?
Yeah. There's no kick in this one anymore. Yeah. I've added, a noticeable amount of water. Look how light it is now.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Oh, it's more stone fruits, more malty.
The malt really pops out there,
doesn't it? The malt being the grain. It's got that sort of cereal grain note to it. The spices have sort of subsided with a little bit of water.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on in this one. Yeah, just a lot to unpack. I do appreciate that. I think I've been kicked. I think the 60.3% did kick me more than I realized.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Jesse Voisin says, I'm starting my dry week and I can't stick around long watching Ben say wow to some great whiskey. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be wowing over these whiskeys here because some of these really say notes, but so other two, I mean, I just want to go back and just comment, like, the first two, again, not to be redundant, but both Smithside, both 12 years old, both first fill bourbon barrels, remarkably different. And I just think that goes to say, of course, different distilleries, so let's be clear about that. It just goes to show just the variety. And really, when on paper things seem similar, just to not judge any one cask by anything other than its own merit, really. The different distillery is a big condition. So, was that the first one they've tried? Let's drink whiskey. That was actually the third. We've had a couple. We didn't get kicked in the coconuts right at the beginning, but that was the third one we've had. We've got a couple more to go. So let's see here. So next one. We got to do this blind, I think, next time, where one of us has to not know what the samples are. I will volunteer myself just to look like an idiot. I'll take I'll fall in that grenade. But I think it would be fun to have somebody do that. But next one, of course, is interesting, and I'll tell you why. So it's Cask 7.238, The Problem of Reality. A nice big black label right there with the goldish copper. Oh, you know what? I'm about to give up on the focus of this camera because I just don't think it ever. I always try to hold this up, and it never seems to work.
It did it once.
It did it once, though. Thanks, Zach. Thanks. Big black label, 26 years old, from the Old and Dignified profile, and you can see here obviously 26 in reverse. I love these black labels. It's funny if you look at them. It's not funny. It's just a interesting observation. The labels themselves are different. Of course, they're black versus white, but the actual material used has sort of like this diamond weave, sort of fancy, very, very fancy.
I haven't gotten one yet, so
I think this is my first one here. Yeah. So this sort of this diamond weave really looks good. So 1993 distillate. That's around the year of your birth.
It was the year of my birth.
This is a birth year?
That is older than I am, though.
What's your birthday?
November.
Wow. So this is May 4th, which for any Star Wars fans is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th, 1993, 26 years old. Interesting. So my first society whiskey was from Distillery 7, and it was a 26-year-old. It's a hell of a way to start.
Yeah.
I guess it left a good impression on me, but I always get a little sentimental if we see others for that very reason. What is the problem of reality, though? Let's solve that, I think, in this one.
I think this will solve that.
Just the depth of it all, it really draws you in and sort of just slows down time, which I just love.
This reminds me of like just going to the little ice cream shop. You got a waffle cone, some like classic vanilla ice cream, and then you've got some chopped macadamias on top.
That sounds so good. I do love a waffle cone. Adam says, I've never had a bad dram from Distillery 7. Yeah, we're very, very fortunate, I think, to have a good relationship with the distillery. Quite a few casks of all different ages. And Brian says, I feel old, Zach. That is, Zach is a youngin', born in 1993. Who was I talking to the other day? They said, I was born in 2002. And I just thought, wow, what do you say? Oh my gosh. I'm like, well, yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's 9 years younger than you. Wow. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? And he was joking, actually. But 93 is. I went on and on. I was just so floored. I was like, wow, I really feel old. Yeah, I'm an 02 kid. But it's sort of like a waxy characteristic to it.
I was just going to point. Yeah.
You get that? It's
as it's sat in the glass for just a minute now. It's that waxiness has come out.
The label says one could get so easily philosophical, and therefore, while we are already on French Riviera, let's walk Nietzsche's path for inspiration. That is.
It's so tasteful.
I saw something. Yeah, it's funny. I saw something on the internet this morning that was, or like really early this morning. I woke up and the first thing I saw was comparing. This is, by the way, random society YouTube story. It was comparing men's deodorants with women's deodorants, and saying like women's deodorants are called like lavender or vanilla, and men's are like cool sport rush. They're all these sort of thematic names. And I was thinking, yeah, that is so true. It's like all men's deodorant is
active, fresh,
clean. They're all verbs. Verbs are sort of just, and this I'm having to chuckle because this is exactly like that. The problem of reality. Yeah. A lot of these are pretty
percent, man.
Cool sport rush. I haven't tasted it yet. Have you gone in yet? The depth of it and just how inviting it is, and it's so light and uplifting because it is a refill ex-bourbon cask. What does it say here? Hogshead, yeah. So very gentle cask influence over time. I think it's just really allows for an old spirit to like lead the profile.
There's a good amount of like fresh vanilla. Like when you think of, it's like a vanilla bean, like going back to that vanilla ice cream, it's more of a vanilla bean than it is like a home style or like a traditional vanilla.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. It has such an old school profile. Like it's very brittle on the palate. It's just, older whiskeys have these properties that are just so different. It sort of just falls apart in a good way. I mean, a little bit of sort of fresh leather.
It sticks around long enough to be delightful, but not too long to be obtrusive.
Oh man. I'm gonna add a little bit of water. I mean, I think it's pretty good as is, but I typically 50.9%, which is low for what we've got on the table.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna bring it down and see what happens. Sometimes, I do. The last time I added water, and I made the comment that I preferred it neat, but with this one, you can really sort of take a deep inhale.
Yeah. I'm almost getting like Granny Smith apple now.
Jesse, who I should point out is still around, even though he said I'm just stopping in and don't want to be caught with any more omans. But said I bought the last 2 7 dots. Haven't opened my big nuts and spice yet. Yeah, that was. I remember that. That was a pretty good one. I held nuts and spice. Yeah, I was a big fan of that one.
It's big.
This is fundamentally different, I think, in every way.
Yeah, this is completely different. That'd be an interesting tasting to do side by side. Is this one and that one? Because I believe that one was 25, 24 years old?
Mm-hmm.
That one was up there, yeah.
This is very gentle, American oak matured. It's a very elegant spirit. That's how I would define it. It's easy. It's the kind of whiskey that you would share with a friend who might not be the biggest Scotch whiskey enthusiast. He might be an average normal person. Spends his time on other things, but he, it's really easy to taste this, even if you have limited experience, and appreciate. Wow, there's a lot going on there.
This is yummy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Zach's word yummy is the equivalent of my oh man. Anytime Zach says something is yummy, that is his tell
It is.
that he really likes it. But it's just such a beautiful whiskey. I'll show it one more time. 7.238. And again, I've about given up with the focus. There we go.
So we know you're not going to be a videographer. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not. Really stunning. So, talk to me about your interest in peat. I know we talked about this last time, but like how's it going? Earlier this year, you were really kind of getting into it. It wasn't really your preferred style, and you've been gradually going into it. Where are you at right now with your peat?
I think the issue right now is that it's like 115 degrees here with like ridiculous humidity. So it's kind of been put on a standstill. I drink. I'll have some here and there. I've been having a lot of 53s and then more funky 93s. And I think it's the complexity and layers of the peat are really starting to show. But then it comes to then the peat hits, and I'm like, man, it's hot out. This is not this is not friendly at the moment.
Yeah, I would imagine it down in Florida with heat and humidity in the heart in August.
Yes,
is yeah. Anyway, well, I'm out in Florida, and I'm going right now. So the next one is actually let's just put this up here. 53.326. The bounty of the sea in a glass. I'm going to try to do this one more time where I put the bottle up. That's close enough, right?
Yeah.
Sort of. 10 years old, from the magical island of Isla, lightly peated, which is interesting because normally when we have these, casks, this is a refill ex bourbon hogshead, which is this is a classic on paper. This is, if you were to summarize Isla whiskey, I think in one sort of cask spec, it would be around 10 years old, refill ex bourbon hogshead, which sort of a lighter cask influence allows the peated phenolic spirit to come through.
Yeah.
Normally these are categorized in peated or heavily peated even, but the fact that this is lightly peated is a bit of an enigma. I think all things considered.
Man, I'll say right off the bat, this is a lot more seafood driven, more maritime influenced than I would say like medicinal peat. This does not scream Distillery 53 to me. And I think I wonder if that's why it's in the lightly peated. It's interesting.
Tom says, talk to Drew about getting a dual camera set up, one for you, one for the bottle and switcher. That's a good idea, Tom. I will talk to Drew about figuring out how to show the bottles and everything more effectively. And I'm looking at this, I think like, okay, we need to get that. I need to get a haircut already. There's a lot of things that I think need to happen as we conclude.
There's a lot that needs to happen to make these streams.
Yeah, the whole thing. No, I'm still in my living room. I'll be hopefully next time out of the house. I'm about ready to do that. So yeah, we're ready to take these to the next level. As long as you guys are enjoying them. Let's just put on. Look, the color on this is very, very light, as a lot of these are. Sort of like a Sauvignon Blanc, maybe some sort of white wine. And yeah, just to prove that we are drinking the same whiskey here. That Zach's color is the same.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but you called the seafood out right away.
Yeah.
This is. Just reading it here. Yeah, get a lot of sort of shrimp, like shellfish too, before the peat smoke, which is wild, because this is a thoroughly peated whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
The palate is completely different.
It's sweet. It's grassy.
Yeah.
Really sort of a dollop of creamy vanilla.
Interesting.
But this is a coastal whiskey, and I think It's wild that the peat. This is just the wildly unpredictable nature of the single cask, or wildly unpredictable nature of nature, I should say, in that this has matured in such a way that the peat has subsided, the cask is taken forward. But really, it's not that it's just very cask driven. It's the spirit itself. You get this really coastal, briny spirit beneath it.
Yeah. No, this is interesting. See, I can enjoy this type of peat right now because it's not overpowering. I'm not getting those giant smoke like beams through my nose. And this heat, this is quite refreshing.
Yeah, I'm thinking for you down in Florida, go out on a dock, or I mean, if you're on a boat somewhere,
On a boat, this is
summer night on a boat, doing some sort of shore cookout. I don't know. I'm painting this picture. Cool rush sport.
Florida dock fishing shore excursion.
So label here says aromas of a plate of sashimi before notes of grilled shrimp. There's the shrimps. Grilled shrimps, because in the UK they use shrimps plural with an S. Let me just say shrimp. Grilled shrimps in a sweet soy marinade. Diluted flavors like a seafood platter with apple smoked cheese. I'm going to add a little bit of water.
Man, if we're doing some cheese, I'm thinking this is a funky cheese. Maybe like a Swiss or
It's hard not to love this one. This is the essence of sort of the Scottish coast without the overly aggressive phenolic character, of peat. It's there, but it's really this gentle waft of smoke beneath the sort of that seafood profile.
That's very, oh man.
Oh, you gotta know, man.
I read the comment at the same time. Mark says, if Ben says yummy and Zach says, oh man, we're entering the twilight zone. He tricked my brain here.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and real quick, I'm going to share with you guys, I know as we're coming up, I'm going to share the rest of the cast coming out. And let me figure out, give me one moment. Let me just figure out how to do this first. Share screen. So let's go through, and actually, let me do this first. Let me drop this one down. So,
wow, that water added a lot more smoke to it, I think.
So let's look at what else is coming out tomorrow. Can you guys see this all right? Yeah. All right. So 9 casts coming out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Of course, 5 of these so far we've tasted, and that's actually all we're tasting today. But 7.238, we did that. The Problem of Reality, 35.257. Uda Joy, we did that. Actually, the first, okay, this is easy. The first 5 we've tasted. So moving on to, we have 63.63 Funky Old Bodega. That sounds really exciting. Love that. Yeah. This is kind of your profile if I would pick one. Yes. Deep, rich, and dried fruits from a second fill sherry butt, really young and punchy from Series 63, which tends to be like a very fruity spirit is what they're putting up. So beneath all that sounds really exciting. Raiders of the Lost Malt Bin. We've had a couple of Raiders. There was the Raiders of the Floss Dark we had, remember, from our...
Yeah, that was a festival release, I think.
It was a festival release? Yeah, the 36. I can't remember the number, 36 out, but it was Raiders of the Floss Dark. So, Indiana Jones fans out there, Raiders of the Lost Malt Bin, another spicy and sweet, and toast 85.60 toasted oak and retro sweets. That one sounds interesting to me. I think some of those tend to be.
That sounds like Jenna's going to hop on like that.
Those tend to be some hidden gems, And then, of course, 93.137, as usual, unusual. I love that name because I feel like that summarizes, I think, SMWS in and out right there. As usual, unusual, lightly peated Campbelltown whiskey from a first fill bourbon barrel. And that is by far, I think, becoming my go-to cask type. I just remember going to Campbelltown and Distillery 93 and tasting in the warehouse samples from first fill bourbon barrels and thinking, wow, there's just so much flavor and I think just invigoration that comes from those casks. So I'm excited for that. So that's the list, of what's coming. What any other standouts to you or anything else you're interested for the remainders?
That funky old bodega, that like I said, I love the deep, rich, and dried fruits, but I'm not I think I brought one over. I actually think it's still there. I love sherry bombs.
Yeah.
Great ones out there. But recently, I think it's those deep, rich, and dried fruits that are carrying the sherry, but a little bit of funkiness and not so much just focusing on the sherry. Like, obviously, a bodega is focusing on sherry, but that just at 7 years old, I think it's going to be young enough to not carry too heavy of an influence, especially out of a second fill. That sounds really exciting to me for sure.
Yeah, I agree with this. If it were a first fill, it would be. Sometimes I do enjoy the really heavy sherry cask matured whiskey. Other times, it's easy for the cask to sort of just take over the profile altogether. A second fill sherry bud, I think, is really just this beautiful option for something of this. Where you have a more balanced spirit and cask profile that, especially with, and again, 63, the Speyside Distillery puts out a very fruity spirit to begin with. So I'm pretty excited for that overall. So yeah, and beyond that, let me go back to, that's pretty much it, I think, for today. So the 5, I'll go ahead and I'll in the replay for you guys, I'll go ahead and put the names of the casks again and the timestamps for when we tasted them. But to sum it up, what any last thoughts from you, Zach, in terms of what stood out, or any surprises for you?
I think it was just a lot of fun to do that 35 and 41 next to each other. I think it really, to me, when I was a member, it was, exploration was huge. So I think if they're able to watch this and hear about how different two casks that are the same age, that are the exact same cask type, can taste so drastically different, I think that may open people's eyes to being, able to more easily choose different casks that are first fill barrels or things that might not seem too exciting on paper. But those were really exciting to taste. So those were fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think doing that side-by-side comparison of the two 12-year-old Speysides from a first fill bourbon barrel was pretty exciting. Of course, the problem of reality was something that
that wasn't a surprise, though.
You're right. That wasn't a surprise. That was just sort of a Santa moment. Wow. But of all these things, I have to say this last one we just had was just so unique in that the peat smoke was very, very faint. I haven't had a whiskey, from what I can remember, with such a seafood-driven profile like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of you in Florida, like down on the coast. Like if you were to go, I mean, I know you're not.
I'm in the middle of Florida.
Yeah, but you're a drive away from the coast.
Yeah.
You go out there, go do some deep sea fishing. I think that was spectacular. Related to this, Zach, you're gonna hate me for doing this, but Matthew Ryan just asked a question. I will say, in a few hours, we'll be posting a video. I did shoot a video yesterday tasting another 53, which is this one, 53.322. Zach, I gotta get you a sample of this ASAP. But this is a 30-year-old from a recent release from the Vaults collection. Literally just got this yesterday, shot the video, and just share my initial thoughts. We'll be sending this out, I think, around 7 p.m. this evening. I'll be appearing up on YouTube. Another, kind of like the last 53 we had, very, very unexpected in a lot of ways. For me, it was a standout whiskey, maybe one of the most memorable I've had, if not the most memorable whiskey I've had this year, which is crazy because we've been doing a lot of these. Yeah. So stay tuned to that. That'll be popping up on the channel soon. I'm not on East Coast time, so what is it? 3, 4? In a few hours, it'll be up there. Check that out. Otherwise, drop us a comment below if you have any questions. And tomorrow at 1 p.m. is the release. So
yeah,
it'll probably be a crazy one. Zach and I will be available. Reach out to us. We'll be on the phones. We'll be on our website. You can chat with us in real time. That'll be us as well. It's just we're here to answer any questions, help you make a pick, but just be mindful that at 1 p.m. it gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
So, get your orders in quickly. So anyway, all right, guys.
Yeah. Well, until next time.
Sanjava.
Yeah. Cheers.